Thanks for the great introduction, Carl, and thanks for everybody for joining us here at the luncheon today. I see a lot of friendly faces. My name is Jason Rydell, Regional Sales Manager for Momentum Telecom, primarily handling South Florida and some West Coast Florida. You may know me from my previous company at Crown Castle, and we've done a lot of business together with a lot of you in the room today. So I'm really excited to be at Momentum, where we provide really, really good solutions for UCaaS, is what a lot of you may know us for. But I was surprised coming from selling circuits and for a tier 1 provider, was super excited to join Momentum and really, really impressed with the aggressive pricing that we're offering on the circuit side. In fact, more than 50% of our business is circuit sales. So while you may primarily know us as a UCaaS provider, that's not the bulk of our business anymore. So I'm really excited to be here and working with Sean and the team. For our UCaaS solutions, we do something that's unique in the industry, especially in the advent of hosted voice, is we do a white glove installation, and that includes on-site delivery and training and setup with our own team. They're all W-2 employees, which is really, really great. So some of you folks may prefer to do your own installations, know the terrain well, but a lot of them don't have the bandwidth or the overhead to be flying around to various places doing these installs. So we really pride ourselves in excellent service delivery and project management and white glove delivery for your customers. Makes your life easier, makes you look good, and for making the right choice for Momentum. We also have a really unique Sd-Wan product, and I know that Sd-Wan is, everybody has a solution, but ours is unique. And another really thing that stands out to me is that it's a Juniper-based product, and we call it Navigator. And it's a little bit of a Trojan horse. It's really, really nice because you can take a NID, you can have it just as a standard termination NID, you can make it a managed router, you can turn it into an Sd-Wan appliance, and it has 4G LTE backup included, all in the same appliance. So really nice, unbeatable price points. Up to a gig on the Sd-Wan, $150 a month. One high availability, $30 a month. It's highly, highly competitive, and I don't think you're going to find a better solution than ours. All right, let me go. So Momentum, how many folks, raise your hands, do you know Momentum? Have you done business with us? So great, good number of folks. Sean, you want to go through the history?
Yeah.
Introduce Sean Nart, VP.
Thank you, Jason.
Thanks.
All right, thank you all. Sorry, I just wanted to quickly go through. My name is Sean Nart, Vice President at Momentum. You'll pick up here in a minute. I'm not from South Florida. I am from Kentucky. So if I talk slow, bear with me. Some of my family, they are from the south part of Kentucky, so we fixing to do a lot of things. So y'all bear with me. But no, I've been with Momentum for 5 years, and prior to coming to Momentum, I came from a company, anybody known West IP, that was formerly Smoothstone? Anybody go back that far? Smoothstone? Yeah, all right. So Smoothstone in 2005, even before that. So everybody's got a history in this space, trust me, and everybody that's 25, 30 years in this space. Smoothstone in 2000, 2004 started going into cloud voice. And I remember sitting across the table from the guys going, listen, it's going to revolutionize the way people do voice. And I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, the worlds are colliding. You got all the PBX vendors out there that don't know anything about LANs, WANs, ERPs, and you got all the LAN folks, the IT folks, they don't know anything about phones, and these worlds are going to collide, and we're going to be on the forefront of it. And I'm like, good luck on that. So in 2005, I took a position with a company named Smoothstone, and I tell you that because you talk about pioneering a technology. I was calling people up, and I'm like, hey, this is Sean with Smoothstone, and they're going, you guys make ice cream? I'm like, no, that's Code Stone. We're Smoothstone. So what I watched was an evolution of an industry, and so I spent about 12 years there through some acquisitions. We became West IP, and about 5 years ago, a partner of mine that we had spent 20 plus years together got tapped on the shoulder to come over to Momentum. And when he got tapped on the shoulder, I had never really heard of Momentum, and he said, look, I want you to come over here. What we built in the cloud voice space, we have an opportunity to build it again. This company's 20 years old. They have high client adoption, low churn, BroadSoft technology. He said, but we have an opportunity with the experience that we have to come over Momentum and bring a very high-touch, gold standard white glove. So with a partner background, 5 years ago, I made the move over to Momentum, and from there, we've kind of exploded into the space. We have what's called a unique niche. Momentum is a 21-year-old company. We're about 250 million in revenue, over 500 employees. Corporately based out of Atlanta, but again, I'm physically based out of Louisville, but partner base is all across the U.S. One of the notable facts is we actually have the Momentum service in the TCG office, so testimonial. But anyway, so again, who we are, where we come from. Through the 5 years of being on board, we started to really hone into, and I said, look, people said, what's the biggest differentiator in Momentum? And it says, what we stand for is we really want to work with companies and help them thrive. So if you line up today, when I started, you probably couldn't pick a rock up. We were talking, Carl and I, back in the COVID days, you couldn't pick a rock up and hit 5 UCaaS providers. Today, you can't pick a rock up and hit 50? Is that a fair number? Who's who in the industry? So everybody's a little confused, or it's noisy and it's busy. And the easiest way, and mostly for my family and my wife, who still to this day doesn't really know what I do, we were at a Christmas party and someone goes, what does your husband do? He's a doctor. What does he do? He's a lawyer. What does your husband do? He goes, he sells phones. I'm like, come on, man, make it sound better than that. So I said, listen, if you line up all the companies in our space, and let's say on the far right of that spectrum, it's the who's who of the industry. You guys know them, right? It's Zoom, it's Ring, it's MS Teams. Their go-to-market strategy is always going to be applications, integrations, and I don't want to say bells and whistles, but it's always going to be front-line, top-of-the-line technology. In our space, if you line all of us up today, you're going to see on the far left, many of our people in our space compete on price. So over here, you got people competing on technology. On this end of the far left, you got people really competing on a low-end price. And I said the difference with Momentum is we realized that technology is imperative, and price is important, but the most critical piece we believe for the partners and their customers sits right in the middle. If you can't implement it, install it, manage it, and support it, doesn't matter how good your technology is or how great your price is, this is the most critical piece. And so the first thing that we did within Momentum is we took a very high-touch approach. So we deploy, as Jason said, all Momentum engineers. So whenever we go do a UCaaS, we're a mid-market enterprise play, we deploy our W-2 engineers. We want that client experience to be exactly what you want it to be for your clients. And it's all part and inherent in our service. So every deployment that we do, we send Momentum engineers out. Any questions? Excuse me. I have some gift cards up here, so if anybody has questions, you can have the chance to earn $25 or $50, depending on how good your question is. Okay. One of the things we began to realize once we figured out what the voice platform was going to look like and the customers enjoyed that experience, then it became day 2 support. So Momentum said, listen, in order for us to really control that client experience, we went out and we purchased a company called Metro Optical. Metro Optical was based out of New York about 3 years ago. It was the largest fiber aggregator in the world. They were doing most of their business domestically and a lot of international business. So about 3.5 years ago, Momentum went out and purchased Metro Optical, and now they have become part of the Momentum family. So part of our service offering, and as Jason said, our lion's share of our growth has come within our network offering. So right now, and Jason will attest, he came from the Crown space. He was like, I'm going to be pretty suspicious in the pricing and how competitive you guys are. And within a week, he was like, oh my gosh, how is that happening? So now we are able to put that network in, control the network, and then also control the voice through the fiber aggregation. And then the last piece that we wanted to couple is our product offering to go to the market with our messaging was about 4 or 5 months ago. We partnered with Juniper. Most people know Juniper in the big iron space, you know, Juniper switches and that. Juniper purchased a technology from a company called 128T out of Dallas, Texas. These guys actually developed the technology that they sold to Oracle, turned around and then redeveloped the technology to where now they got into the Sd-Wan space, and they're doing some unique things there like secure vector routing and tunnelless, but the bottom line is what we're able to do for the enterprise space and the price point of 159 flat 1 gig, if it goes up to 10 gig, it's 189 regardless, is really kind of pushing the envelope to the customers to go, wait a minute, how are you guys doing that? So for us, our messaging is really about setting the customer, and what this slide really talks about is we go in and with you, it's really doing a full needs assessment, looking at everything from the WAN to the LAN to the voice to the cloud to all the different applications, and then giving the customer an opportunity with the partner. And it's amazing when we go through this, we call it our spider slide. It's just a tutorial of walking through with the customer and with our partners to say, listen, there are areas where the customer says, hey, I need to talk to you guys about a voice solution. Okay, what do you want? Give me 3 quotes. We're looking for a cloud services. Why? What's the needs there? Most of you all, or many of you all, if not everybody is doing this, we work with you. It's a sell with strategy. And then more importantly, what we do is we come behind you and then support that with all the analytics. One of the things that I like to talk about in our analytics space is the ability that Momentum's technology is a call center application. So we have a call center technology for companies that need a call center that not necessarily are a call center. Does that make sense? So, down here in the South, American Airlines, that's probably not our customer. They are a call center. If you have a technology or your customers are saying, hey, we got basic queuing, skills-based routing, geo-routing, we need some inherent technology built into it, but we don't want to pay $150 a seat for a call center agent, that's a perfect fit for us. We have that call center technology. It's probably going to come in at a third of what they're used to seeing, and then incorporate that into the voice solution. So from a network perspective, I asked this question to Jason earlier, and I'd like to maybe put it out to you guys. When customers are asking you, for those who are in the network space, to sell network or price network or look at network carriers, what is the primary or secondary reason why they're asking you?
Don't be bashful.
Is it price?
Availability.
Availability?
More speed and redundancy.
More speed and redundancy? Excuse me. Has anyone ever asked you for less speed?
No, but a lot of people are oversold.
They've oversold? Okay. So more speed and redundancy. What else? Price?
Service.
Price. More reliable.
Activation process.
I'm sorry?
Activation process.
Faster? Okay.
Customer service of the company itself.
Customer service of the company you're selling. How many of those that, and again, I'm asking truly for reference, when we get a lot of the requests, I asked Jason again, and this is just with an anecdotal conversation with us, I said, of the last 25 quotes you did, how many of them had impending events? Customer service, more speed, or were they just doing a pricing exercise? What would you say the percentages are? Here, hand that one to the gentleman there, in the black shirt, and the one behind him. Anybody? Yeah. The reason I asked the question, and maybe I'll just continue on, is we're getting a lot of the requests, and what we're finding is that a lot of it is just an exercise in futility. And what my goal is not to have you guys, with our fiber aggregation process, is to really negotiate a great price for the competitor. We find that in a lot of competitive scenarios. We are winning a lot of the opportunities. 68% of Momentum's revenue of the $220 million last year, 68% was through our network base. Now again, for 21 years, we were known as a UCaaS provider. Over the last 18 to 24 months, we have shifted dramatically, and as you guys just saw, with the world of COVID and everybody going virtual, we've really made a big imprint into the footprint, or excuse me, into the space. Now, here's where it gets interesting. In a domestic scenario, in a domestic bid, we find that there's carriers out there, and you guys know this, the options for domestic-based carriers is about like this. When it goes international, the space gets really, really small. We had a story the other day where a customer, and I think it may have been a TCG partner, that put a quote into us just for some international, I think it was Dubai, Saudi Arabia, and the quotes were coming back 30, 40, 50K. We were able to come back with a quote with over $18,000. The budget was like 22. We were able to, and one of the other things in offering in on the network space, bundling it with the voice, is we're able to offer spiffs along with that. So work with your TCG manager, because here's what I would tell you. If you walk away with anything today, knowing that Momentum has moved into, again, our goal is to help you streamline the processes of what that customer's doing today. So we talk about network, global network footprint. And then most importantly, what we wanted to share with you guys is the newest relationship with Juniper. This really is, for the most part, bringing some impact. A lot of people are comfortable with who they're working with. Customers also have an SD-WAN provider that they already work with, and that's fine. But I will tell you what Juniper's doing right now, and the question still remains, when you get into the gig space and the 10 gig space, the price typically gets $700, $800, thousands of dollars on the SD-WAN piece. Again, we've gone to market with a flat rate of $159. And the reason is, and I like the response that the Juniper team members said, they go, hey, let's get 10,000 boxes out there and then we'll set the market. So really what they're doing is they're making their splash into the SD-WAN space. We can get into the technologies of it. I'm open to questions there. but Momentum has really changed the messaging of who we are, what we do, and how we do it, primarily around the UCaaS, white glove, high touch, gold standard. It's all inherent inside of the solution, bringing and coupling that with the network piece, and then ultimately tying that to the redundancy and the scalability with the SD-WAN. So with that, I wanted to open it up to any questions, comments, concerns, challenges, and I saw some hands earlier, some folks who have sold with us. I'm curious to whether it be client experiences or feedback. Yes? Revenue, I'm sorry, the
Minimum seat count or MRC.
so, okay, sorry, minimum seat count. There's no minimum seat count. What we require is a minimum spend. So if you have 5 seats and you put a circuit on it, it comes over $500. On a 5-year contract, all of our white glove is waived. We choose to sometimes incorporate that on a 3-year, but we can negotiate that off. It's a $2,000 white glove on the 3-year. On a 5-year, it's inclusive, but I'm on film, so I got to be careful with my executives. No, most of the time it's gratis. It's all part of the service. Yes, sir. The throughput goes up to the 1 gig. 1 gig throughput. 159 flat. Nope. Are you asking, does it do it or does it? Correct. And it has LTE backup as well. Yeah. You can do up to 2. And then you pick the carrier. We have the packages on the SD-WAN piece.
Hey, Dax, also, if you need to go up to a 10 gig port, it's $199. So not a big difference there.
Did you get that, Dax? Okay. Yes, sir.
I got you, man.
Earlier you mentioned on the international circuits.
Yes, sir.
You saw bids coming in at 30 to 40,000. You came in at 18. How?
Good question. Andy Hornig, who is, I'm sorry. There you go. Look, that was a great question. Sorry. You do. He asked the question was, how are we so low? The question comes back a lot of the times, how are we getting this? So again, I'm just going to go through the story. Andy Hornig, who owned and started Metro Optical 19 years ago now, went out and negotiated carrier contracts and relationships with just about everybody. So there are a lot of providers out there I'm not even aware of. One example, and then he goes, Sean, I have contracts with LA Power and Light, for example, and they have fiber in buildings that no one really knows of. So if someone within that building and that facility needs to get network in that organization, I can go out there and I can negotiate with that, for example, LA Power and Light. With international, we have contracts with companies like China Telecom, the companies within Saudi Arabia, and then resellers, and then fiber and light companies there. So through his litany of time and relationships, he's negotiated those contracts. When we bring it, it's still under one bill, one vendor, one SLA. And a lot of times it's all about, and then the last piece he told me was, Sean, I don't put all the markup on it. I don't have multi-layers that AT&T has. I don't have to do that. So they give me a price. Excitingly, he said there's times at the end of the month I've got contracts sitting there from companies like your customers like yours, and they'll say, okay, I'll get 2 or 3 competitors come in and go, I know you have 50K sitting out there, name your price. And so now he on the back end can negotiate that price even lower. It's just through the relationships. I think today he said he has over 525 different contracts with carriers. Yes, sir.
Can you sell SIP in India with local GIDs?
SIP in India with local DIDs. Doing local portability international is usually a challenge. I could have to look into it. Doing SIP trunks into international countries, EMEA, yes. Netherlands, I know we've done it in places like that. India, I'd have to check. It's usually a case by case, and a lot of times, Carl can tell you from the days of Nextiva, there's a lot of legal issues involved there too. Yeah. But I'd happy to look into it. Yeah.